one of the things that I've thought a lot about that it sounds like you're actually on the same page with is just like this realization in the last 2 years that the like I would not be surprised if we have like AI super intelligence sometime very soon. But like what as I like look out my window and like I look at the physical world around me, it's pretty clear that like that's actually not going to like I'm going to go outside, the world's going to look exactly the same way that it does right now, and like building that sort of digital intelligence doesn't directly, at least in the short term, translate towards like a changed physical world around me. Like life as sort of humans currently live the physical world, their life in the physical world will be very similar. Digitally, things will be different because you'll have on-demand intelligence. But it sounds like you're like, the humanoid robotics like is the way in which we sort of see that acceleration of progress in the physical human world. What's your take on like the timeline to actually make that happen, and also just like the it feels like that exponential is going to be like very slow to start, but then like really take off in a material way. I'm curious to get your reaction to all that.
It doesn't feel like the future, does it? Future's like arrived a little bit, but it does not feel like the future. I do think a world where like humanoid robots are out in the world doing all kinds of things for humans, and we can like take flying cars to places and other things. Like I do think that is the future we all want, and I think that's what drives me to like help work on like the companies and projects I have now. Is I do feel like that stuff is going to be important for an exciting future. I want to add one thing too. Is like we are approaching like digital superintelligence. It does feel near, and that superintelligence today like lives in a server, lives in a box. And one of the reasons why I'm working on humanoid robots here at with Figure is I ultimately think like a scenario where we don't solve the humanoid robot is a scenario for me where we approach in digital superintelligence, and we have like we have all these agents out, like digital agents doing work for us, for humans, and they're going to need a lot of stuff done in the physical world, a lot of stuff. And to the extent we don't have the humanoid solved, like they're going to be asking humans or forcing or bossing or paying humans to go do this work. We're going to be like this, like, this slave to this like digital super intelligence. And the humanoid is the perfect deployment vector for this. It can like do like most things all a human can. And it needs this like intelligence semantically to really traverse the physical world in this like messy environment. And it's the perfect form factor, and you can't get it in your like at home vacuum cleaner or anything else. Like there's no hardware for this. So my view of how to answer maybe your question is that you're gonna first see the humanoid robots built and deployed in a very small amount of places that are doing work all day. And if you have the luxury of being able to go see those things, you're going to come in and be like, oh my gosh, it feels like it's working now. And I think that's probably how we all feel when we take Waymos now. But like, I assume most of the US is not taking a Waymo. So when I talk to call mom up, she's like, it's like, in Illinois, just like Midwest, middle of Illinois. It's just like, and I'm like taking a Waymo. I'm like self-driving is here. And, it's like, it's happening every single day. Like human robots are happening, they're working, and it's just on a limited scale right now. And we like, we'll see like, this very gradual point where we get more and more out, and we learn things. We need to learn how to integrate, and how reliability works, and how maintenance works, and how human interaction works. We work at scale, how like scaling learning works. Like we need like as a company, we're trying to figure that out by deploying robots and getting more and more out to the world. So like, we run a robot like every day in the commercial setting. We also do run them here. So we're getting like real like experience trying to figure that out. And then I think like at this point we've learned a lot, and now we're trying to get more and more robots out. And then as we get more and more robots out, it'll be harder to manage a bigger fleet, and having like little less babysitting going on than we like probably had in the past. And then at some point we'll like really crack it, and we'll be able to put like literally hundreds of millions of robots out to the world. There won't be any much difference between being able to get a few 100,000 robots out and millions of robots out. You have to have the same technologies. You can't have you got to have extremely low to no intervention rates. You got to have like default UI needs to be speech. You need to like roughly generalize on the learning side. You need to have scaled like like, learning from humans, like things like this all need to be like you need to learn that, you need to have figured those out by like some certain scale. So our next big push is to get 100,000 robots out the next 4 years. That's what we're trying to go do. That's what Baku, our manufacturing facility that we open, can do. And we've started now making Figure 3s. They're actually running. They're actually working autonomously, and we want to scale, to those areas here now the next next 4 years. And if we can hit those numbers, we think we're on a trajectory to put millions out to the world. So, yeah, unlike software, we just can't like digitally duplicate this infinitely. But I think the biggest hurdle here is walking into somewhere and seeing it work. Like that, that's the hardest part of this whole problem. Is getting it over some period of shift to go in and autonomously do work. In the case of like the package work we just showed, it was done through a Helix neural net, and it had I think the latest version we just put out had 60 hours of additional data. Like before we did any, didn't know how to do logistics in that case at all. We put 60 hours of data into it, and it did all that work we showed you. And that's just like on the grand scheme of things, nothing. So if we're able to basically start collecting hundreds of millions or billions of hours of human-like data, I think we'd be able to scale these to almost to billion unit scale. You can scale them to every corner of the world.